cracking, guys. Omar Esau here. Here in my garage.
It's not a garage, dude.
I got a lot of cars. No, I got a lot of cars. I got a lot of money. Like, look at all my fucking cars, bro. I got even a Vespa. Do you know what that is? I got one of those. But I don't give a shit about those. I don't give a shit about these cars, these women.
What do you give a shit about, Omar?
Overhead squat mobility and the overhead squat in general.
Wow.
And you know why? Oh, it's a big wow, Alice. You know why? It's because I get it. I read your comments. We care a lot around here. And what I have read and what I've seen is that while I put out a lot of mobility videos that are very helpful for some of you guys, you don't have all the time in the world. You don't have even 15-20 minutes to mobilize before you lift. And I do dig that. You're busy people. Totally got it. And so if I had to boil down everything into one kind of catch-all thing that you can do every day, or at least before you squat an overhead press, I would say to do the overhead squat because it saves you a whole lot of time. It basically kind of combines a bunch of different mobility exercises while doing it under load in a dynamic movement. And it'll probably save you at least 10 minutes of mobilizing if you just do it every single day. So instead of doing, you know, every bit and piece to mobilize your ankle, your hip, thoracic area, your shoulder, you instead can actually do the overhead squat. And what's really cool about it, it also acts not only to mobilize you as a screen. It lets you figure out what's fucked up with your body. So not everyone's the same, right?
Watch out, Omar.
Bro,
glad
you see that?
I'm glad you're safe.
You saw that?
I saw that. We have it on video.
Yeah.
World star.
Yeah, better see this guy. So what I was gonna say, it's a great screen. So not everyone has to do the same mobility, right? I make videos for everyone. It's popular, so it applies to most people, like mobilize your ankles, mobilize your hips. But some people, like else, his glutes are firing all damn day. His hips, great mobility. Doesn't need to work on it. Other people, shoulders are fucked up. So the overhead squat allows you first off to mobilize a lot of different areas, but also to figure out what's wrong with your body, so what you actually need to focus on. So this is a really good video. First off, if you want to see more comments, or more content I should say like this, make sure to like the damn video, leave a comment below saying let's get physical, hashtag, and we're gonna make more cool content like this.
The hashtag goes at the beginning, by the way.
Oh no, it's the after. It's let's get physical, hashtag.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right. I want to get out of here, man. Sorry guys, I just needed like 5 minutes after that whole hashtag diabolical, whatever you want to call it. Back to the overhead squat. I want to briefly now go over how to perform the overhead squat. My boy Brandon Marshall, already for this channel, made a phenomenal video. Not just phenomenal, the best video on overhead squats. Didn't get a lot of play. I'm going to link it in the description because at the time I was just starting weightlifting. People were like, what the fuck is this? It looks weird. I don't want to do it. Well, guess what? You're doing it today. So I'm going to link that in the description, but a brief overview of the overhead squat, because I also want to talk about the screening test, the mobility exercises, would be we want to start with the hand position wider than shoulder width, so usually about 1.5 times wider than shoulder width. So basically if you snatch, like snatch grip, and you're going to press it over or behind your head, so it starts off behind your head. You can either press it or you can push press it. We're going to use lightweight, starting just with the bar. I want you, remember this is mobility, we're not trying to overload it as an actual movement, we're trying to test mobility. So start with just the bar over the head, arms 1.5 times shoulder width. We want to make sure when we do this, there's two different ways you could do essentially this movement. We can either externally rotate, which means elbows away from us pointing towards the wall, or the Chinese weightlifting style, which is to internally rotate, kind of shrug the shoulders up, which would be elbows behind us. You got to experiment to see what feels best for you. Me personally, I do the internal rotation, so I move slightly away rather than towards. That all depends upon you, but you want the arm straight overhead, bar behind your head, so not over quite the midline, a little bit behind, over the midline, I'd say, of your body, where the weight will be when you actually do the overhead squat. And then from there, what you want to do, chest up. We want to make sure, we want to focus on that thoracic extension, so we're nice and tall, chest is up. We want to cave forward. We don't want no good morning. We don't want to look like we're about to suck some dick. We want to be upright. No. Nice. We want to look and be as upright as possible. So we're doing a few different things. We want to make sure chest is tall, right? Keep it nice and upright. And from there, what we're going to do, making sure our arms are locked. So arms are locked, wrist is slightly, I'd say, cocked behind us. And from here, we want to make sure when we descend that we remain as upright as possible, letting our hips kind of sink in between our legs. Me personally, because I want to avoid that butt wink, and it's easier for me to squat down with the overhead position, I go with my feet a little wider than what my squat stance is, so wider than shoulder width. Slightly, I point out to get some external rotation of the hips going on. Knees track over the toes all the way, and what you're going to do, the knees are going to end up, because you're going all the way down, they're going to end up going a little bit past your toes, and that's completely acceptable. That is completely fine for you to do. And then Here are the keys, and here's how you know you're doing it right. When you have the weight over your head, it should feel funky at first, different because you're getting used to it, but it shouldn't feel unnatural where you're constantly wobbling with the weight. You want to be nice and tight, so we want to make sure the arms are locked out, elbows are locked out. We're stable up top, we're stable throughout the mid area, and we're stable with our hips, right? It feels comfortable to squat to that depth. So you want to do 3 sets of 10. You want to do this before you train, before you do, your squats, your overhead press. You do that, you start with the bar, you can slowly add the weight. Start from 45 pounds, go to 55 pounds, 65 pounds. That's how I did it. Now I'm doing nothing impressive, but my 1 rep max right now is 245. Bellis, it's alright. But we use it to screen and to test everything. If it looks funky, because you're going to film this, we're going to break down what the potential issues might be and what you need to work on. Because remember, the overhead squat essentially is a test to see what's fucked up and what's not. So what you need to work on to save you time when it comes to lifting. So for the screen test, we're going to start from the bottom and work all the way up to the top. So if we look at the bottom, we need 15 to 20 degrees of dorsiflexion. And what that means, ankle dorsiflexion, is that your knee has to be able to go past your toes comfortably. Most people will need some sort of weightlifting shoe, but what this is going to allow you to do is remain more upright, place less of a demand on, or pressure I should say, on the hips, and allow that thoracic area to keep extended. So if you don't have that, if you basically can't get your knees past your toes, this kind of feels uncomfortable, you're like this, you got to work on your ankle mobility. Got a whole video on that, but basically ankle dorsiflexion is everything when it comes to the overhead squat. So that's number 1, and that also applies once again when it comes to the squat. Number 2, we take a look at the hips. If your hips just feel jammed up when you're trying to squat down and you don't have a lot of space, you just can't get down without your hips shooting really far back and feeling uncomfortable, we got to work on releasing the glutes, so just rolling with a lacrosse ball on the glutes, as well as working on hip flexor mobility. So get a lacrosse ball once again, or maybe a band, and smash it right inside here where your hip flexor, your psoas and everything, right here, to try and release that, to open that up. So open the hips up. That's a potential issue if you feel jammed up in the hips. So we're taking a look at ankles, hips, then mid-back. Point number 3, you got to be able to remain upright, right? Chest tall is what we want. Want to remain as upright as possible when it comes to the overhead squat. So if instead you actually have a slightly rounded over posture, if that is you, if you're rounded over way too much, what you want to do is focus on making sure you're extended with that thoracic area. So getting just a peanut, rolling on it, getting a 25-pound plate, and unleashing that area. Just kind of working on all those tight, inhibited areas. So that's number 3, if you can't remain upright when it comes to your back. Point number 4, shoulders. You need internal rotation, external rotation, and then shoulder flexion to get above your head. I told you the overhead squat does a whole lot, but we want to make sure we have that external rotation to rotate with our hand if we do it that way. Internal rotation to be nice and stable when it comes to the bar resting on the traps. And we also want to make sure that we can get, honestly, our arm to be behind our head naturally without extending with our thoracic area. We do all these screens, all these tests, all these things. You figure out essentially what's weak, what you got to work on. So, like I said before, the overhead squat, much like Transformers, more than meets the eye. There's a whole lot more to it because it's not just about doing the overhead squat when it comes to weightlifting. It prepares you for the squat in general. It over prepares you actually because it requires more mobility than any of these other standard movements than a squat, overhead press. It also will allow you to figure out basically what's jacked up in your body, so you spend less overall time doing all this mobility stuff, more time getting gains. Well guys, that is the video. I hope you learned something today. I know there's like 2 kinesiology students who are like, man, I ain't fucking impressed. You want to impress me? Look, maybe I can't please you. Can't please them all. Like I said, if you learned something, if you liked the video, I'm looking at you, make sure to like the damn video, and I'll be seeing all you guys, my rascals, in that next video. Now, excuse me, I'm all hyped up from this talking, this training, this meditative shit. It's time for me to get my lifting going on. This is a trick they play on me. Someone will open the door.
Do you even work out here?
Yeah, I know everyone knows me here. Yeah? Everyone knows me here. I'm well known, yeah.
I think security's coming. Security's coming.
You don't have the key?
You may want to leave. Security's coming.
What's up, dude? Cool.
Eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your fucking vegetables.